You know, if you look at the top 10 list, there is one name that stands out consistently among many of the best courses. His name is Stanley Thompson. A lot of people may not know a lot about him, but he was one of the greatest golf course architects of his era. And the fact that so many of his golf courses are still on this list almost a century after they were built speaks volume to what a great architect he was. Let's spend a minute now to get a little bit more information about Stanley Thompson. Nearly 60 years after his death, the influence of Stanley Thompson on Canadian golf still reverberates from one coast to the other. The legendary architect has more than a dozen courses on this year's Top 100 ranking, including half of the top 10. It's a remarkable legacy of a man who designed more than 150 courses in Canada and around the world, and a man who is still influencing some of today's architects.
His courses have really stood the test of time. They're classic designs. Most of his well-known courses are, they have that beautiful classic look to them. They seem to fit into their environment very well. Very natural looking golf courses. And they're fun to play. And they can be very challenging if you set them up for a tournament, and move the tees back and tuck the pins in certain positions and speed up the greens. They can be a great test, such as St. George's was for the Open a couple of years ago.
First of all, he was a master architect. I don't think anybody's going to debate he was a master at his craft. But I think, just as I just said, Stanley really understood how players play this game and how they derive enjoyment from the game. He could create golf courses that were tough enough for the good players, but he had a real knack for understanding how people played the game, where they missed shots, and just creating that right amount of difficulty without overkill.
Among Thompson's best are two of the most recognizable of Canadian courses, Fairmont Jasper Park Lodge and Fairmont Banff Springs. Both layouts are still marveling golfers who come from around the world to see the remarkable courses in the Rockies.
I think people make the effort to come and play Stanley Thompson courses when they're in Canada. I think sometimes as Canadians we underestimate how well sort of our elite artists are perceived in the rest of the world. And there's no question that people come to Canada and they look to play Jasper, Banff, Highlands, Capilano if they can get on it, St. George's if they can get on it. That's where they're starting their lists, is his work. And then it comes to other places like the, Hamilton or the National or somewhere else. But it's Thompson where everybody begins.
Well, Banff Springs course is Stanley Thompson, and that is certainly one of his legendary golf courses. It was certainly one of his higher budget golf courses. That was one he built for the CPR back in the Depression, and the famous story there is they had no soil, so they had to bring it in by rail car from Alberta and Saskatchewan. So it was and Stanley used to like to say it was the first golf course ever built in North America that cost over $1 million. So that was a lot of money back in the Depression era. But it showed the commitment of the CPR to hire the right guy and build the right golf course as an amenity to the Banff Springs Hotel. So the rest, of course, is history.
If I had one single round left to play in my life, I would choose Jasper Park. I think it's the most fun golf course to play. I love the mountain backdrops, the setting. The golf course is entertaining. You've got some of the most spectacular threes in the world with the Bad Baby. I happen to really love the fourth as well. I mean, Cleopatra, the ninth, is just a superb par three. It's just full of so many great holes, and I think it's a top 5 in Canada easily.
Thompson was flamboyant and a bon vivant, a man who enjoyed his life no matter what he was doing. Stories of his unconventional way of living are many. He is said to have made and lost a fortune several times over, and that, in his later years, he never missed an opportunity for a drink or two. There always seemed to be a twinkle in his eye and a skip in his step as he traveled the world building golf courses.
I worked with one of his associates for many years, Robbie Robinson, and Robbie had a lot of great stories about Stanley Thompson. One was he used to tell people that he was born in Scotland, but he was actually born in Canada. His parents were from Scotland, but I think it probably made him feel like he was, more of an authentic golf course architect coming from Scotland.
Well, Stanley was an eccentric guy, for sure, and he was a character. From what we've heard and what we've read, he was a real character. And I think, us in the golf business, we've all tried to study, Stanley's career and his life and his eccentricities. And he was sure loaded with all of those, and there's a ton of stories. So, but he had an amazing knack for this business, And you know, we all benefit by his skill and that special knack that he had.
It's unlikely any Canadian has had a bigger influence on the game of golf in this country than Stanley Thompson. His courses have stood the test of time and continue to challenge and amaze generation after generation of golfers.